Hello everybody, this is Reggie Time with the kind of weekly review of things that have been going on in my Facebook group, and I want to talk a little bit after this about sites like Global Poker and Sky Poker too. So we're going to look at this hand from a Facebook group member, Ben, and after that talk about which is something I've done before on the channel, but maybe not since I've had so many subscribers and so many people watching, talk about site selection too. So we'll get into the hand. In fact, no, we'll read what Ben said first. He made a fold on the turn here, and as you can see, I'm not going to read what is written, but you can see for yourself what is written. You can see yourself what Ben's initial thoughts were on the hand. So here's the hand itself. Our hero is in the small blind. Makes up with the ladies. I think the first thing to consider here is how deep we are. We are pretty much 150 blinds deep, just over. I think that's relevant because I think our hero makes a 3-bet that's just too small. I think it would be too small 100 blinds deep. And I think it's way too small given that we are 150 blinds deep. Our hero only makes it 10 blinds here. And whether that's relevant to this hand or not, I don't know. If it made it my preferred size, this depth, which would have been 12 to 13 blinds, maybe the hand still goes down the same way. But that said, in general, I think it's a point worth making. When we're out of position, I typically make my 3-bets minimum of 3.5 to 4 big blinds. 3.5 to 4x the open raise. So in this occasion, I would have made it less than 12. If we're 100 blinds deep, I would have got 12 blinds here. Given we're 150 blinds deep, I think we can make a case for going 13 or even 14 blinds, just to kind of like try and reduce the SPI that little bit further, to try and the entire range. Most of the time here we're going to be wanting folds, except when we've got like queens, kings, aces, maybe ace king. We're going to be wanting folds, or maybe even wanting folds with ace king, just to take the hand down and move on. So yeah, I think we generally want to lean towards making our 3-bets bigger out of position, and certainly bigger when we're deep. So I think this is definitely a small mistake, just going to 10 blinds with the depth and the fact we're out of position. So we get called by the player in seat 5, and we get a pretty innocuous flop. It's got to be said, it's a good flop for our hand. Certainly one of the better flops that we could have seen, and our hero elects to lead out. And I think that's way too big. 80% pot size C-bets are not something I've seen for many a moon from like most players in these games. The trend these days for C-bets in 3-bet pots tends to be anywhere from like 1/3 pot to 50% pot. There's obviously people out there doing it bigger, but generally speaking, when I'm watching players' content on like different various sites, when I'm just watching live poker, when I'm like sometimes I just watch some of the higher stakes games of Zoom and what have you. This C-bet looks way out of line in terms of its sizing. It's going to be really hard to like want to C-bet some of our weaker hands this size. I'm assuming that we did 3-bet with ace king pre-flop. I'm really not sure we want to be using this sizing to C-bet with it. I mean, if Ben's just got a strategy of like only value bet any 3-bet pots, and like and if this field is a bit stationary, I could kind of get on board of it as a really exploitative strategy. But overall, I don't like it, and I don't think it's something we should be doing. Into a pot of $1.01, I'd like to sit in bet around 40% here. Then he can thin value bet more of his range. He can bluff cheaper. All of those things. I think this bet is way too big, and I think it gives us problems later in the hand, as we're going to see. So he gets called. At this point, our opponent's range for me, as Ben talked about in the chat, he can certainly have all of the sets. Let's not rule them out. I think he can just have some other stuff too, like pocket 7s probably isn't gonna fold for 1 bet. Pocket jacks isn't going to fold. Pocket 10s isn't going to fold. Some club flush draws aren't going to fold. Maybe like jack 10 suited. Maybe even some gut shots peel. Although to be fair, we blocked the gut shots super hard. So at the moment, I think we can still be ahead of our opponent's range, but when he does call such a large c-bet, it kind of narrows his range somewhat. If we bet 40%, I think he can call with a much wider range than he can when we bet 80%, which is kind of important when we're going to be wanting to maybe think about betting 3 streets with a hand that's like as strong as queens here. But if we do bet 3 streets, it's going to be relatively weak by the time we get to the river. Then we bet this turn. And I think this is that sizing. If we're bet folding this turn, as Ben ends up doing, this sizing is way, way, way too big. I'm not really sure I like betting this turn. I think this turn is like slots into our opponent's range way, way better than it slots into ours. At this point, when we barrel this turn, we're basically saying we've got aces, kings, queens. Maybe we return a set of tens or pocket jacks. But our range is very narrow and quite clearly defined, unless we're morons, which I'm very confident Ben isn't. So therefore, if our range is like face up as a very, very strong hand, assuming player 5 isn't a complete moron too, and we're making all these assumptions because Ben didn't really give reads, or if he did, I'm sorry, I've missed them. We're going to have to assume player 5's a regular 2, competent regular 2, because it's 5-0 Zoom and there's lots and lots of competent regulars in there. Some of you guys may like stop and laugh at that point, but there really is. It's just not true that everyone that plays 5-0 is an idiot or donkey. The vast majority of 5-0 Zoom players are out there trying to play good, tight, solid poker. So we're going to assume that's what player 5 is trying to do. So when we use this sizing, I'm not really sure what Ben's trying to achieve here. I mean, what is he trying to get value from? Pocket jacks? I don't know. I think the size is way too big. And if we are going to bet for it, if we're going to just bet and call it off here and just like whatever, we might get called off by jacks or some other nonsense that if we think the player's bad. And get on board with it. If this player's like a total fish, and we're just betting never folding here, I like the sizing. But against regulars or like that kind of the general population of 5 and L, I do not like this sizing at all, particularly if we're going to be folding. So we do get jammed on, and Ben does find the fold. Which I just don't like your sizing, Ben. I don't mind. I like the 3-bet pre, of course. I like the c-bet. I like the turn barrel. But I think the sizings have all been way big. I think your pre-flop sizing has been too small, and then your 2 post-flop bets have been too big. That's just my opinion. Other people may disagree. Please let me know what you think in the comments, especially Ben. I'd like to know what you think about my comments on your sizing. And then we'll just highlight some of the discussion that went on in the poker in the group afterwards. If you guys want to see this in more detail and you're not a member of the Facebook group, please do join. The group's getting bigger and better all the time. We're getting new posts now on almost on an hourly basis. It's been a slow burn of the group. It started up really slow. People weren't confident in posting. People didn't post. But more and more and more people are posting, and more people are contributing to the threads now. So please, please, please do get involved in the group. If you're looking for somewhere where you can come and find a safe space to discuss hands and be protected from trolls, be protected from all these asshole regulars who just want to just piss on your parade all the time and tell you how bad you are, tell you how much you suck, and just tell you to fold pre-thinking they're the funniest person in the world. If you want a group that none of that exists, just come and find it. Reggie Time Microstates Poker Group on Facebook. You've been more than welcome as a new member, and come and post your hands. As you can see, there's quite a lot of discussion on this. I think most guys' general advice is we need to be getting away folding this turn. Or maybe we can think about check calling the turn. That was another piece of advice discussed. I think I prefer continuing to bet. But generally speaking, it's been a good positive thread in the group, and there's been lots more like it recently. It's really, really good. So, yep. I think we just need to, on this turn, decide to just not fold. But apart from that, nice hand, and thanks for posting it. Please come along, join the group, and post some more. So, moving on from Ben's hand and promoting the Facebook group, now I'd like to talk just for 5 minutes or so about probably the most exciting news site in the US right now, which is Global Poker, and talk about a little bit of game selection, site selection in general. Quite a few of the guys have switched across to Global Poker. If you want to see just how good the games are in Global Poker, please do go ahead and check out Alton Harding's microgrinder site, he's been playing some global poker lately. He's been at kind of like showing just how the site works, how soft it is, and then the games look insanely soft. There's a guy from the group, Vincent, who's been playing there. I've been watching his as like a session of his. The games look ridiculously good. It's like stepping back in time. It's like pre-boom type games. Not saying every table's like that, but you can find games like that. You can create situations for yourself that you were finding regularly 10 years ago. It looks like it's a nice site. It looks like it's a step in the right direction. And what I like most about it is it doesn't have a speed poker option. And a lot of guys will they'll come to me and they're pretty good poker players already. You know, they're not bad in it by any stretch of the imagination, but they're just hammering out Zoom games. And I've made lots of videos, Zoom, at Snap, at Fastfold. But I never have, or not for a long time, have actually advocated playing those games because they're just some of like the toughest games around. I frequently and very often advocate that we as players should be like looking to find like the softest games we can find. I think that's been held up again this week. I've been watching a lot of the Poker After Dark, Pot Limit Omaha games this week, which have been kind of not as much fun as the All Limit Hold'em games. I was looking forward to it. I thought it was going to be great. It's just been a bunch of guys playing pretty tight Pot Limit Omaha versus each other, and the only big pots have really been the coolers. Just I guess how poker plays out a lot in these speed poker games now. It's just a bunch of tight players playing pretty solidly against each other, and then it's just whoever wins the coolest has the good sessions. That's kind of how it works most of the time, unless you're the guy that has like the sickest edge in the games. Unless you're one of like the top 5% guys. If you're not one of the top 5% guys, your speed poker experience a lot of the time is going to be sometimes you have big heaters, sometimes you have big downswings. Very rarely do you produce like super consistency where you're winning like 70, 65, 70, 80% of your sessions. That just won't be happening for you. It doesn't happen for most people, so don't worry about it, but do think about what does that mean for me? What does that mean I should do? Where should I take my poker? To get back to global poker, it looks great. It's a colourful site. It's browser based, I think, so it's going to be really hard for people to be able to cheat on it by using illegal software. I could be wrong on the browser based. Please forgive me if I am. If it's not just browser based, if you can actually download a client and play through it, then I apologise. I could be wrong, but if it is just browser based, I think that could be a really nice way for sites to have going forward who do want to protect the players from cheats, because much as I hate to admit it, sites like Unibet and Sky, although they are pretty soft, they don't protect their players from unscrupulous players, because when they use a client, there are ways around it. Just go and find it on 2plus2. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but go and find it on 2plus2 or on Google. There are ways to use the client on those sites and develop some kind of primitive tracking software for yourself. So anything that's completely browser based, I'm on board with going forward. Now, are they more secure? I don't know. When it comes to security, I'm not sure how. I'm not technically savvy enough, but I'd love to see more sites going with a browser-only basis if they can make sure that obviously the games are super secure and all our money's secure. So I'd like to see that if it was like really safe and secure. If it isn't, then ignore my comments. But I think browser-based does prevent people from using illegal software a lot better, or at least it feels like it does to me. So I like it. It's a pretty site. It seems to appeal to recreational players. It just looks the part. And same with Sky too. Sky running a promotion next week. And I normally hate promotions, but I think this Sky was actually going to be quite a good one because it precludes all the like high volume, high raking players. It's effectively a rake race for non-regulars who are not priority. Like priorities like Sky's highest level of VIP rewards, and it actually excludes those guys, and it's for the guys who aren't priority. So hopefully it's more aiming towards recreational players, and it might suit me. It's certainly inspiring me to put some more volume in next week. I'm hopefully going to be able to report back next week on just where I'm at in the league tables. It is going to preclude me from playing either 20 or 30. I'm not sure which league I'm going to go in yet, the 20 or the 30 league, because they have leagues for like each. They're going to have leagues for each limit. And I'm not sure which one I'm going to go in yet, but whichever one I'm going to go in, it means that if I'm going to go and play 20 in a league, I don't really want to be playing any 30-nil tables. I'll probably end up playing some below average 20-nil tables rather than putting good 30-nil tables in, just for the first week at least to see where my volume can get me in the league tables. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. See how that goes. I got a little practicing last night. At one point, I got up to 6 tables. It was a bit hectic for my tastes. But if I'm going to win a league at the end of the month, or come close to winning a league at the end of the week, sorry, and I'm going to be able to make maybe an extra £60 to £100 per week for the next 4 weeks, then it's a sacrifice that's going to be worth making. Maybe I can double my hourly. Who knows? But I'm going to look at it for the first week. Going to grind really hard next week. I've got some time off work, and see where it takes me at the end of the week. If it takes me somewhere where I want to be, I'll just put a really solid hard month in. If it doesn't, then I won't. I'll just revert back to normal. And yeah, one last thing about Sky and Global is I was talking to a student of mine this week who is kind of almost come to the end of his time with me. He bought 5 sessions from me. He's used 4 of them. In that time, he's gone from 10-nil to he's now started taking shots at 100-nil on Sky. And it just goes to show that how important it is, in my opinion, to as a micro-stakes player to try and get yourself away from the speed poker grind. And I've made many videos on this, and for some of you guys, it'll be like, oh god, here goes Reggie Time again, talking about like the importance of not playing fast fold. But this guy, he come to me, and it was only literally 3 months ago, possibly 4 at the most, maybe, I can't remember, but it's not been very long anyway. It's only been 4 sessions that he's had, maybe over the course of 3 or 4 months. He was losing at 10-0 on Sky. He's gone through 10-0, 20-0, 30-0, 50-0. He's just started shotting 100-0. He gives me more credit than I deserve. He's basically saying that he's giving me most of the credit for it. I don't think it's fair. I think he deserves the absolute most credit there, because he's worked really hard, he's tried really hard, he's taken it really seriously. He's developed a spreadsheet to track his winnings, to go back and review hands-on, to collect his thoughts. He's put tons of effort in it, and for me it goes to show, if you do want to make progress quickly in poker, I still think game selection is really, really important. The guy who I'm talking about, Will, he's shown that. He's stuck to Sky. He's progressed significantly. God knows how much his multiplier is bankrolled by. I'm going to guess he's multiplied it by at least a power of 10, which is phenomenal and really, really well done to Will. And it just does, in my opinion, talk about the importance of going and playing on sites like Global Poker, going and playing on sites like Unibet, playing on sites like Sky, getting away from all these sites that promote mega high volume through speed poker games, but don't really allow anyone to crush. There's no crushes in Zoom anymore. If you're winning at 2.5, 3 blind 100, you're a crusher at Zoom. That's not crushing poker. I mean, yeah, you're doing really well in those games. You really are a crusher by those games, and you're probably an exceptional poker player. But you're not getting fair value for your skill. You're not getting a fair return on on the investment you put in terms of time and money to polish your skills to get to that limit. So if you are struggling at poker, or you're doing okay in these Zoom games, strongly recommend you try these softer sites. It'll be an adjustment at first. It won't be easy. You'll be bored. You'll be getting less hands per hour. You'll have to adjust to more fishy plays. But I think it's a sacrifice, and it's an experiment worth making. The guys on the Poker After Dark this week, they were talking about it. They were talking about how tough the lineup was. It started, and I think it was Ike Caxton, Brian Rast, Ben Lamb, some random teacher guy who was easily the weakest player in the lineup, but certainly no moron. And then Phil Galfond, and they were all saying how they wouldn't normally get out of bed to go and play that game, but because it's on TV, they'll play it. They know that everyone knows, all the high stakes players know the importance of game selection. So when these cash games on TV usually run with at least 1 or 2 fish in them, all the pros know game selection is important. They all talk about it. It's all super important back in the day, and Zoom's kind of come along, and not just Zoom, but other formats of fast fold poker. It's come along, and it's almost made game selection like a dirty word, like bum hunting's a dirty word. And it's just not true. It's got such negative connotations these days, but in my opinion, it's still the absolute best way to go about playing poker. And when you hear the top guys talking about it, about, oh, there's no soft spots in this game, it's a bad game, I don't mind battling pros, you know, if we're playing smaller stakes online for practice, but I don't want to do it when it comes to making a profit. That should absolutely cascade down to your games. It's really hard to build a bankroll these days, and I know tons and tons of guys who come to me, and you're probably the same if you're watching this channel. They're just treading water or even losing constantly in the micro stakes in the fast forward pools, but they're constantly being told by the forums, work hard, put studying, get in the lab, study, work hard, keep playing, keep grinding, and it's just an incessant hamster wheel because you're doing that and most of your peers are doing that too, and it's kind of impossible to get ahead. You've got to work really hard just to stand still and tread water, and there's so many graphs out there that demonstrate this. Just give yourself a break. If you're in the US, get away from ACR and the rakeback race and try Ignition or Global. If you're in the EU, get away from Pokerstars, try and play Unibet. If you're in the UK, get away from the big sites, give Sky a whirl. Just give yourself a chance to actually get a fair reward for your skills and go and find some of these fishier sites. So there we go. That's going to be the end of this week's random thoughts video. And that last section has been a bit rambly and a bit random. You might need to go back and listen to it a couple of times. I'm not super happy with it, but I don't have long and I can't go back and edit it, I'm afraid, because YouTube edit is kind of fucked up at the moment. So it's a bit rambly, but essentially, the cliff notes of it, if you got this far, have been play on pretty sites, play on sites that kind of don't have speed poker, play on sites that don't really let technology win by letting the person who has the best HUD win, the person who's best at using their HUD wins. Play on sites where you're going to be able to play against other recreational players like yourself. Play on sites where there's going to be other big losing players at the table with you, hand after hand after hand, not just popping up now and again in speed poker games, and just try and get proper value for the time and effort you put into making yourself the poker player that you are today. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and we'll leave it there. Bye-bye for now.